This is Greg Salyer. Welcome to Gods and Monsters Today, the new theogony. If there is anything close to the Olympian gods in our lifetime, it is celebrities. We venerate them with our time, money, and attention, and in exchange we get to be near them in our imaginations and sometimes in person. They speak to our deepest hopes and fears through their performances and conjure worlds filled with awe, magic, and power. They function as all gods do, enhanced projections of ourselves, only with more beauty, power, and money, and they live usually high above us on mountain compounds or in skyscraper penthouses. No matter where they live, it is apart from us, but close enough for us to know that they are there and desire our worship. The language of the market is theological language, as the Harvard theologian Harvey Cox wrote in The Atlantic after he explored this area. He notes, expecting a terra incognita, I found myself instead in the land of déjà vu. The lexicon of the Wall Street Journal and the business sections of Time and Newsweek turned out to bear a striking resemblance to Genesis, the Epistle to the Romans, and St. Augustine's City of God. Behind descriptions of market reforms, monetary policy, and the convolutions of the Tao, I gradually made out the pieces of a grand narrative about the inner meaning of human history, why things had gone wrong, and how to put them right. Theologians call these myths of origins, legends of the fall, and doctrines of sin and redemption. But here they were again, and in only thin disguise. Chronicles about the creation of wealth, the seductive temptations of statism, captivity to faceless economic cycles, and ultimately salvation through the advent of free markets, with a small dose of ascetic belt-tightening along the way. In the rotunda of the Capitol in Washington, D.C., there is an amazing painting of George Washington experiencing apotheosis, or becoming God. Painted in 1865, the work reflects the country's God-making of this founding father and first president. Others like this exist in various civic venues throughout the country, and it and they reflect the belief that in death, Washington had transcended the mortal realm through his own virtue and the building of a new democracy. Like other gods, Washington soon became subsumed by the interpretations of his deity that served the political and religious ends of his various interpretive communities. Father, soldier, statesman, ultimate citizen, Washington became all of these and divine. We have always been able to make life. That is how we all got here, of course. But to make life apart from sexual reproduction is a dream of modernism that is becoming close to reality in our time. In fact, in some senses, we can say that it has already happened. More than anyone, however, it was a young girl spending a night with friends on a lake in Switzerland who gave us the most profound and horrific vision of the consequences of the creature becoming a creator. Mary Godwin, who would become Mary Shelley, conjured Dr. Frankenstein's monster from her own dreams and in the service of a bet about who could tell the best ghost story. Since then, the creature she created has been our favorite monster and has been represented more than any other in literature and film. Knowing monster culture as we do from Cohen's 7 Theses, we can see how Frankenstein's monster meets all the criteria. More contemporary monsters take a cue from Shelley and add technology to create new and improved artificial lives, such as replicants and terminators, to continue the story. While Frankenstein's monster is our oldest and most popular, close behind is Bram Stoker's vampire Dracula and his kin. Stoker's novel reeks of the otherness of monsters and connects to everything from anti-Semitism to the persistent fear of and attraction to women. I see the novel as Christian pornography, since the exchanges of fluids are thinly veiled references to sex. It is more than that, however, and the primary meaning of vampires has to do with our craving for life and obsession with death. Vampires live right on that scene, and thus are figures that demonstrate our greatest hopes and fears, the hope to live forever and the fear of being dead forever. Vampires also evoke religions that we have buried in our repression of them through science, and of course the return of the repressed sexuality, especially in the Victorian culture from which the novel emerged. The blood is the life, screams the mad Renfield in the novel, and in doing so he calls back ancient religions who knew this fact through bloody sacrifice, a memory that has been elided by a bloodless Christianity and a mechanistic modernism. Of course, when it comes to monsters, we have our very own in America, and it is the most recent monster in history. Critical theorists Deleuze and Guattari argue that the only modern myth is the myth of zombies, and their point is made well with American capitalism, specifically that it produces a new and formidable death drive. Put more simply, capitalism makes us work to live to the point where we lose our lives. Arising out of the horrors of the French occupation of Haiti, when the country was known as Saint Dominique, zombies are grounded in the experiences of African slaves who were captured to work on sugar plantations. Half of the slaves brought in from Africa were worked to death within a few years, which only led to the capture and import of more. Critic Amy Willents notes that the zombie was a very logical offspring of New World slavery. To become a zombie was the slave's worst nightmare, to be dead and still be a slave. How then did we move from zombies as an object of pity to zombies as an apocalyptic horde? We can thank director George Romero and his uniquely American zombies. Romero's zombies are sometimes presented as having lost their humanity a long time ago by becoming slaves to consumerism. In one of his most famous sequels, Dawn of the Dead, the survivors flock to a shopping center only to find themselves besieged by zombies who do in death what they did in life, flock to the mall. Zombies have repeatedly been used as a way of critiquing society and questioning humanity. Dresner argues that zombies possess a patina of plausibility that vampires, ghosts, witches, demons, or wizards lack. The creation of a zombie does not necessarily require a supernatural act. In fact, it is zombies' nearness to us that in being and behavior that makes them all the more terrifying. Freud called this feeling the uncanny, that is, that class of the terrifying which leads back to something long known to us, once very familiar. No wonder then that we are fascinated to the point of obsession with zombies more than any other monster, because they demonstrate contemporary America. The monster always escapes, Jeffrey Jerome Cohen reminds us, and he is correct, because we are the monster and the God. If we apply this idea, even in a minimal way, it changes the world dramatically. When we claim that God is judging something, we would know that it was actually us doing the judging, and the object is actually ourselves. When we fear a monster, we would know that it was born in our deepest fears and made of culture and of us. Therefore, it would be trying to teach us something. We would no longer be comfortable assigning praise or blame to beings and events outside of us, but would instead have the opportunity to take responsibility for our own existence. And the Genesis proclamation would become truer than ever for humanity. Behold, they have become like gods, knowing good and evil.